When Shedeur Sanders stepped into the spotlight with his first official Nike merchandise launch, nobody expected what was about to unfold. This wasn't just another rookie debut, this was a shockwave that ripped straight through the sports and fashion world. A release so explosive it obliterated projections, shattered long-standing records, and forced Nike's entire global machine into emergency mode within hours. Websites crashed, stores sold out before they even opened, and executives who thought they had seen it all were left speechless. Phil Knight himself was reportedly calling for explanations as if a natural disaster had struck the company's supply chain. Fans weren't just buying jerseys and sneakers, they were treating Sanders' logo like a cultural passport, a symbol that connected them to something bigger than the game itself. And the most shocking part? This wasn't just football fans, this was Gen Z kids who never cared about the NFL, women making up nearly half the buyers, and international markets flooding Nike's platforms like they had been waiting for this moment all along. It felt less like a product drop and more like the birth of a movement powerful enough to threaten rivals, rewrite contracts, and maybe even change the entire future of athlete endorsements forever. Nobody inside Nike's headquarters was prepared for what happened the moment Shedeur Sanders merchandise went live. Within the very first hour, sales figures didn't just edge past predictions, they completely crushed them, hitting numbers executives had only expected after an entire day. The chaos was immediate. Nike's servers went down not once, but multiple times, as fans swarmed the site in a frenzy that rivaled the biggest sneaker drops of the past decade. Distribution centers were reporting sellouts before stores on the West Coast had even unlocked their doors. Managers were scrambling, emails flying, calls ringing off the hook, all asking the same stunned question: how is this even possible? Shedeur Sanders didn't just launch merchandise, he launched a cultural earthquake. The moment Nike dropped his official gear, projections that had been carefully calculated for months were blown apart within minutes. First-hour sales didn't simply beat expectations. They annihilated them, crashing Nike's servers as fans swarmed the website like it was the last ticket to history. Entire collections vanished before West Coast stores even opened their doors, leaving employees stunned and distribution centers scrambling to keep up with a frenzy that looked more like a global phenomenon than a rookie release. Nike insiders whispered that the velocity was unlike anything they had ever seen, bigger than Jordan, bigger than LeBron, a force that turned a rookie quarterback into an instant merchandising juggernaut. And in the middle of the chaos, the call that sent shockwaves through Beaverton headquarters came from none other than Phil Knight himself, demanding to know how one young athlete had just flipped the entire industry upside down overnight. As Nike scrambled to keep up with demand, their competitors were in full-blown panic mode. Adidas executives reportedly held emergency meetings, trying to figure out how they had missed the chance to sign Sanders when the writing was on the wall for years. Under Armour, already struggling to claw back market share, rushed to accelerate its rookie recruitment strategy, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle before Sanders widened the gap even further. Puma, which had spent years plotting its North American comeback, was suddenly forced to rethink its entire playbook, while New Balance quietly began exploring unconventional partnerships just to stay relevant. It wasn't just a missed opportunity, it was a humiliation. Nike had spotted the cultural wave before anyone else, and now the entire industry was left scrambling to explain how they let a rookie quarterback slip through their fingers and become the hottest property in sports marketing. The most shocking part of Shedeur Sanders' launch wasn't just the raw sales numbers, it was who was buying. For decades, NFL merchandise followed the same pattern: mostly male fans, mostly diehard football watchers, mostly domestic sales. But Sanders shattered that mold in an instant. Reports revealed that nearly 40% of purchases came from women, a figure unheard of for NFL-branded gear. Generation Z, a group notorious for ignoring traditional sports merchandising altogether, swarmed Nike's platforms as if Sanders had dropped the next Supreme collab. Even more surprising, the surge wasn't limited to the United States. International orders from Europe, Asia, and Latin America flooded Nike's system, forcing distribution centers to reroute inventory across borders just to keep up with the global wave. Sanders had turned what was supposed to be an NFL rookie rollout into a worldwide cultural event. Every cultural movement needs a symbol, and for Shedeur Sanders, it came in the form of a sleek, crown-tipped SS logo. At first glance, it looks simple, clean, almost minimalistic, but The design hides layers of meaning. Sources close to Nike's creative team revealed it went through no fewer than 17 iterations before Sanders finally signed off. The crown element wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate nod to his father, Deion "Primetime" Sanders, while at the same time carving out Shedeur's own independent identity. The message was subtle but powerful. This wasn't just a rookie borrowing legacy, this was a new era building its own throne. And that's exactly how fans interpreted it. Young consumers didn't see the logo as just sports branding, they saw it as a lifestyle badge. Streetwear influencers began pairing Sanders hoodies with luxury sneakers, rappers were spotted wearing his gear in music videos, and fashion stylists pushed the merch into red carpet looks. Suddenly, the SS wasn't confined to stadiums or highlight reels, it was appearing in nightclubs, premieres, and high-end streetwear shoots. For a generation that treats logos like statements of identity, Sanders' crown wasn't just a design, it was a declaration. And the fact that people outside of football were repping it proved something Nike had always dreamed of. Sanders wasn't selling jerseys, he was selling belonging. What made Shedeur Sanders different from every other rookie wasn't just his game on the field, it was how he played the marketing game off of it. For years, even before he entered the NFL, Sanders was building his brand like a strategist, treating social media not as an afterthought but as his main arena. He posted content like a seasoned creator, optimized algorithms like a tech company, and curated his image with the precision of a Fortune 500 marketing team. By the time Nike signed him, he didn't need their platform to make him famous. He already had a built-in empire that could amplify anything he touched. Nike insiders reportedly admitted that their first meetings with Sanders had little to do with football stats. They weren't just signing a quarterback, they were signing a cultural architect, someone who understood how to bridge generations, cross markets, and pull in demographics that sports brands traditionally struggled to reach. Sanders wasn't chasing television interviews or relying on glossy ad campaigns. He went straight to the fans, speaking their language, showing authenticity in every post, every clip, every behind-the-scenes moment. That direct connection became his superpower. And the result? When Nike dropped his logo, the world didn't see it as just another endorsement, they saw it as an extension of a voice they already trusted. But here's the twist that has insiders talking. Sanders doesn't look like the typical rookie gamble. He carries himself with unusual maturity, moves with strategic vision, and surrounds himself with a team that treats branding as seriously as training camp. The early signs point to sustainability. The resale market is already exploding, with some limited edition Sanders gear reselling at premiums of over 1,000%, treated more like collectibles than clothing. StockX and other platforms have reported demand curves that mirror luxury streetwear rather than NFL jerseys. That's the part that rattles traditionalists. Sanders isn't just building a fan base, he's building an ecosystem. And if he can back it up on the field, this isn't a flash in the pan. This is the blueprint for how athletes will build power in the future. While fans celebrated and rivals panicked, Wall Street was doing the math, and the numbers were staggering. Nike's stock targets were upgraded almost overnight, with analysts calling Sanders' debut a perfect storm of athlete, brand, and cultural timing. Retail stores reported record-breaking single-day revenues, some locations claiming they had never seen anything like the rush for Sanders gear. In Manhattan, one flagship store manager allegedly said it was the highest grossing day in the location's history, and it wasn't even tied to a championship. This was a rookie, not a veteran, driving numbers that outpaced established superstars. Digital engagement told the same story. Nike's app downloads spiked by more than 400%. Website traffic soared past Black Friday levels, and social media impressions surrounding Sanders' logo eclipsed even Super Bowl ad campaigns. The ripple effects went beyond just merchandise. The frenzy proved that consumers weren't just buying products, they were buying into a movement. Investors saw this as proof that Nike had reclaimed its cultural dominance, while competitors faced uncomfortable questions about whether they had fallen permanently behind. For the financial world, Sanders wasn't just an athlete, he was an asset class, and one that looked poised to deliver long-term returns. While fans celebrated and rivals panicked, Wall Street was doing the math, and the numbers were staggering. Nike's stock targets were upgraded almost overnight, with analysts calling Sanders' debut a perfect storm of athlete, brand, and cultural timing. Retail stores reported record-breaking single-day revenues, some locations claiming they had never seen anything like the rush for Sanders gear. In Manhattan, one flagship store manager allegedly said it was the highest-grossing day in the location's history, and it wasn't even tied to a championship. This was a rookie, not a veteran, driving numbers that outpaced established superstars. Digital engagement told the same story. Nike's app downloads spiked by more than 400%, website traffic soared past Black Friday levels, and social media impressions surrounding Sanders' logo eclipsed even Super Bowl ad campaigns. The ripple effects went beyond just merchandise. The frenzy proved that consumers weren't just buying products, they were buying into a movement. Investors saw this as proof that Nike had reclaimed its cultural dominance, while competitors faced uncomfortable questions about whether they had fallen permanently behind. For the financial world, Sanders wasn't just an athlete, he was an asset class, and one that looked poised to deliver long-term returns. Shedeur Sanders' Nike debut wasn't just a successful product launch, it was a market-shattering event that rewrote the rules of athlete branding. In a matter of hours, a rookie quarterback triggered website crashes, supply chain breakdowns, and financial shockwaves strong enough to push Nike stock higher. He forced competitors into emergency meetings, created an international buying frenzy, and built a resale market so hot that collectors now treat his merch like gold. Sanders didn't simply enter the endorsement game. He flipped the table, creating a blueprint that athletes and brands will be chasing for years to come. But with that kind of momentum comes enormous pressure. Every pass, every post, every public move from here on out will be dissected under a microscope. Fans see him as more than a player. They see him as a cultural leader, and that kind of spotlight can be brutal. The last athlete who made this kind of leap turned his name into a billion-dollar empire. The question now is whether Sanders can do the same, or whether this moment will stand as a once-in-a-generation shockwave that no one else can replicate. One thing is clear, Nike didn't just sign a quarterback, they signed the future, and the rest of the world is scrambling to catch up.